All right. So thank you so much for joining us. This is an exciting night. We're on our third learning lab of the series. And this is a brand new program for us, a brand new workshop kind of series. So love to have your feedback on it afterwards. If there's anything that you thought we could add to it or strengthen, or anything that you thought really worked for you, please let us know. Like any of the workshops, if you've attended one of these before, please feel free to turn your microphone on, put your hand up, ask questions, share experiences you're having, or anything you need. If there's something that's going on in your center or something you're trying to plan with a certain age group and you want support tonight, by all means, just ask your questions. Use tonight to make sure that you get all the support you need to go back to work either tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday, and feel like you know what you're doing and you're supported and you have everything you need. My goodness, we have lots of people tonight. So for those of you who maybe haven't attended one of these before or met me on a different kind of platform in childcare, my name is Krystal Churcher. I do a lot of different things in childcare. Tonight I'm here as the Churcher Group, which is an organization that I founded really to provide support and consultation to childcare operators. I'm really excited to spend this time with you tonight. It's all about exploring nature and outdoor inspired play, even though we're all sitting inside right now, through our Learning Lab framework, which is all built around explore, create, and build. I also just want to recognize that it's through the support of ChildFriendly that we're able to offer these free workshops. Sorry, Grace, are you wanting to say something? Anyway, just to thank ChildFriendly for supporting these workshops and resources like this for the industry and educators across the sector. ChildFriendly is a childcare management software system for those of you who maybe have never come across it or heard the name before, that is completely free for centers to use. And really what makes it, I think, so meaningful and different is that it was created by an Alberta childcare operator who truly understands the field that we're all in and believes that educators should have access to both tools and resources to strengthen your professional practice, to support you and really ensure quality of care across the industry. So I just wanted to let you also know that in the chat tonight, we have a link that will take you to a form. Complete that form and we'll send you a certification or certificate for your time and for this workshop. So there is a link in the chat. I will also share it at the end of the session again as well. But if you complete that, it's just got your basic name and contact information. We'll make sure that you get your certificate following this session tonight. So before we begin, just make sure you fill out that form. Feel free to use the chat tonight. Put your hand up if you want to ask a question or say something. Tonight, we're going to just walk through some really simple, realistic, hands-on learning invitations that educators can immediately implement. We're going to make sure that we cover 3 different age groups so that you can implement these in your infant and toddler classrooms, preschool environments, family day homes, daycare facilities, preschools, outdoor programs, whatever you're working in. I hope that you'll find some value in this tonight. We'll focus on 3 different learning invitations: explore, create, and build. Each one of the activities will be built around those 3 invitations. And throughout the session, I really want you to kind of think about how we can create intentional environments, how we support learning without over-directing children, how simple materials can create meaningful development opportunities, how observation becomes one of the most important teaching tools. And like all of our sessions, when we host these learning labs, it's not about expensive materials. We're not going to provide you with a catalog and a shopping list to go and buy a whole bunch of different things to implement these activities. It's really about using what's in your centers or kind of close by or free and inexpensive. It's not about complicated lesson plans or perfect final products. It's really just all about making it practical, easy for you to implement, utilizing the resources that are already around you. I'm giving you those kind of practical setup guides that you can, again, immediately take to work with you tomorrow. So tonight we're going to be talking about using natural materials. As always, please make sure with any kind of materials that they align with your provincial health regulations. I know you guys are joining me from different provinces tonight. Licensing standards and any individual safety requirements that you have in your centers. All right, so with all of that being said, we'll get right into it. So our Learning Lab framework is really about supporting intentional play-based learning through 3 simple, powerful classroom experiences. One of the first things I really love about this framework is that it keeps learning approachable for all educators. Sometimes, as educators, we feel pressure to constantly create these elaborate activities or Pinterest perfect setups. But meaningful early learning does not require complexity or expensive materials. Children learn best through repetition, investigation, interaction, and exploration. And the Learning Lab framework really is meant to focus on those 3 core experiences. So with exploring, we really want to support that investigation, the curiosity, early science thinking, sensory regulation. Under Create, we want to talk about supporting expression, fine motor development, planning, creativity. And then through Build, we're going to really talk about how we support strength and coordination, problem solving, even writing readiness or pre-writing skills. And what makes this framework powerful is that each invitation can easily be adapted across all age groups. Infants can participate, toddlers participate, preschoolers can participate, and the materials might change, but the expectations, you can adjust by those age groups or development level of children that you're working with, but the core learning remains developmentally meaningful. Another important point is that these investigations encourage educators to become facilitators rather than directors. Instead of telling the children or showing them exactly what to do, our goal tonight is really to show you how to create opportunities. We want you to observe and support and extend thinking through conversation. That shift is really incredibly important in play-based learning. Children build deep understanding when they investigate rather than simply following instructions. So before we look at the activities themselves, we're going to just talk a little bit about why we've structured it this way, why hands-on play matters so much. Hands-on play supports multiple areas of development at the same time. When children are actively touching and moving and building and sorting and pressing, comparing and all of the things, the brain is making connections continuously. There are 3 main developmental areas highlighted under this framework. You can see them on your screen. We have thinking and investigating, where children kind of naturally develop curiosity and problem-solving skills, science skills. We have motor development, which nature play is incredibly valuable for that physical development. Activities like picking up rocks or pressing leaves or carrying sticks, stacking loose parts, even rolling natural tools, all strengthen important muscles and coordination patterns. And then we have our language and regulation. So the hands-on play also supports vocabulary development, communication, social and emotional interaction, and regulation. Nature-based play is especially regulating because natural materials provide that calming sensory experience, and children often become more engaged and focused when interacting with those open-ended materials. So we're going to kind of talk about these 3, areas of development within our activities as we move forward into kind of the whole package for tonight and the 3 topics that we've picked. The 3 invitations are for tonight. We have under Explore, we're going to talk about how to set up nature discovery bins under different age groups, meeting different developmental needs. This will focus really on observation and sensory exploration, language development, and the early science thinking. Your children are going to be able to practice exploring and sorting, comparing, investigating with this activity. Then we'll move on to Create. And tonight under Create, we have nature mark making, which focuses on creativity, fine motor development, process art, nature connection. Children can practice pressing and dragging and rolling and creating. And then last, for our activities tonight, we're going to have loose parts nature play under build, which will focus on problem solving and planning, engineer thinking, collaboration, where the children can practice stacking and building, designing and planning. What I want you to notice tonight is that these invitations are intentionally open-ended. The children are not expected to produce the same outcomes. Instead, the goal is all around exploring and thinking, investigating, creativity, persistence, and that's where the real learning is going to happen. So we're going to walk through each one. We'll start with our explore section. Sorry, my voice tonight. Nature investigation supports observation skills, sensory exploration, language development, and early science thinking. The Explore invitation is really all about slowing children down and helping them notice. In today's fast-paced environment, children often move quickly from one activity to another. And nature discovery invites children to really look closely, compare, touch, observe, sort, and investigate. This is a great thing for you too. As educators, we are always kind of rushing and trying to move from one thing to another, make sure we cover everything. So even through activities like this, when you're leading them and guiding through them, hopefully it's a chance for you to have that moment to kind of take the breath and get engaged in this with the children. One of the best parts is that the materials are completely accessible. You can use leaves and sticks, rocks, pine cones, bark, flowers, whatever you have available to you, which meets your health standards. These materials are free, natural, sensory rich, and totally open-ended. So your role as an educator here is to create the opportunity for discovery. Setting up, so for all of our activities, if you haven't joined us for one of these, we're going to lead you through it step by step. We will also follow up with some great resources, lesson plans and different activities, shopping lists, those kind of things that you can take away to be able to just take this and do it tomorrow if you want to. But for this one, always our step one, prepare your environment. Choose a calm space where the children can focus. You can use, whatever is available to you in your center, whether it's a floor space, a small table, an outdoor blanket setup, a sensory area. It's going to look different for all of us. It'll look different based on the day, I'm imagining, but you can do this inside. You can bring this outside to your outdoor space. Use some shallow trays, baskets, containers. These don't have to be elaborate sensory bins that you've purchased. Rubbermaid containers, some natural baskets, some basic shallow trays, all will do the trick for this. The goal is all about making the materials visible and accessible. Try not to overcrowd your space. Too many materials can overwhelm children, especially for our younger age groups. Fewer materials often create a deeper engagement. We're going to add some natural materials. So start small. You don't need 20 different things. You could even have the kids in your program go and collect these nature items to add to the bins or to create these activities with. But even 3 or 4 materials will create meaningful investigation. Some of the things you can bring in: leaves, sticks, pine cones, rocks. You can have a stash of this on hand to be able to rotate it through to keep that momentum and interest going. And it's going to kind of be different based on the children that you have in the program and the availability of resources of what kind of nature you have around your center. Next, we can talk about introducing some simple tools. So tools will increase the engagement. They'll deepen the investigation. They may extend kind of the interest and extend the activity as well. So it might be something that you maybe put out after the children have initially played with the item or gotten into the activity to kind of extend and allow them something else to go back into that with. Things you could include: magnifying glasses, small containers, scoops, tweezers, or tongs of some sort for our older groups. It's really up to you, whatever you have on hand, whatever's available to you. But these tools can really build those fine motor development skills. They can help to support the focus and attention of the children, scientific observation, coordination. And then really your job is to step back and observe. This is often, I think, the hardest step for us as educators. We naturally want to teach and direct and guide and explain everything, but the children need space to think. And so instead of giving instructions, try to use some open-ended language. I wonder what you notice, what feels different. Tell me about this. Your observations really can become valuable for connection. And the goal is really about curiosity and interest and not about right answers. So building that vocabulary around kind of those open-ended questions to extend their observations rather than teaching and trying to direct. So the first Explore activity is built around kind of that 12 to 18 month age or 12 to 18 month development level. For infants, younger toddlers, the focus is really about sensory discovery here. So some of the materials that you might want to look at, again, based on your health regulations, look for some large leaves, sticks, soft natural items, pine cones, grass, and using a shallow bin or a tray that makes it accessible to them. You obviously want to avoid any kind of choking hazards, making sure that safety and compliance with everything comes first. But providing these kind of materials to children at this age really helps them learn through that sensory experience. They're learning what things feel like, how objects move, how materials respond, maybe when you're squeezed or pulled or those kind of things. That texture awareness, cause and effect, and really this is an opportunity to build that early vocabulary just by talking through and adding some language like soft and touch and look, rough, is a really good way to kind of build that vocabulary, introducing those words with, short language paired with that experience. This activity supports so many different things. It's such an easy, basic activity, but it supports, sensory integration, brain development, attention skills, emotional regulation, early communication, and the child is building that neutral connections through different experiences. And when we look at something like this, even how you communicate it with parents using some of the language around what they're actually learning and how amazing just such a simple activity is for their development will really not only support the children, but really help educate the parents on the value of the work you're doing and the profession that you're in and what kind of care their child is receiving when they're with you as well. So next we move on to kind of our toddler age, our 19 to 36 month age group or development level. And I mean, at this age, exploration really becomes way more intentional. So the children are beginning to compare and sort and collect. They may be making observations around what is the same and what is different or naming things. You can really expand the materials a bit here. So you can use more mixed items, maybe some smaller containers, maybe some smaller natural items like some rocks or different things. Again, all around the health regulations, make sure it's safe first. But your focus here is really on having the toddlers working on their language development, categorization, comparing textures, observing, and early science thinking. So setting them up even in small groups rather than a large kind of container, having those small containers or baskets and small groups, offer containers for them to go collect the items, invite the children to kind of sort and compare here, and really follow the interests of the children that you have with you. You can start to use some different prompts and different language here around, what is the difference, what is the same, which one feels soft, around comparing and kind of noticing those differences and similarities. Can you find another one of these? All of these things and these prompts are very open-ended, but going to build on that basic language. Now you're giving them prompts to really go and investigate and explore a little bit further with this as well. They're developing their attention span and memory, vocabulary, and problem-solving skills, all again under such a basic, easy to set up, really inexpensive activity that on a nice day would be really easy to bring outside in your outdoor space. And our last one under Explorer for today is about our 3 to 4-year-old age group, our preschool age group or preschool development level. And our preschools love, that movement and moving into the deeper inquiry. At this stage, we can really see them starting to investigate patterns, comparing features, asking questions, creating their own theories around, what things are and how they got there, those kind of things. You can now start to introduce more elaborate magnifying tools. I know from my own center, we bought a microscope at one point, which was like an incredible resource. The children loved it at this age. Larger collections of natural items you can incorporate here. You can incorporate different kinds of sorting spaces, maybe sorting trays, whatever you, again, have available to you. Even observation trays, mirrors, maybe even at this point. Again, this whole development focus really supports classification, inquiry, scientific thinking, curiosity, and observation. You can start to add invitations for them to really investigate certain materials closer, encourage the sorting and categorizing of different things. You could ask them to start to explain their thinking, give them, to give you their theories on things and why things are the same or how they're categorizing things. And it's a really great opportunity at this age group too to start documenting observations together with the children. Maybe they're kind of doing some research around some of these materials or certain things. So you can really build the vocabulary up here as well. And on each of our slides, you're going to see some suggested educator language just to support that. So using some open-ended questions here, like what did you notice? How are these the same? What do you think about that? Those kind of questions that are open-ended and really no right or wrong answer. You're just trying to be there to kind of facilitate and guide their thinking. Really at this age, why this matters so much is our preschoolers are developing their critical thinking. Open-ended investigation teaches them that there can be multiple ideas. Questions are valuable. Testing ideas is important. Learning happens through exploration and really allowing them to kind of get their hands on these materials and experiencing them, firsthand. So I like to think of this kind of as the foundation for our future science learning at this age with these kind of activities. Our next section of our learning lab is the create section. For tonight, we're going to talk about a nature mark making activity where the children are using natural materials to make marks, explore texture, express interest, experiment creativity. This is a process art kind of activity, the way we have it structured tonight, which is incredibly important. It focuses all around the exploration, creativity, decision making, and motor development, rather than producing those kind of final products or something that has been kind of demonstrated for them. This is completely open-ended. The children really have the opportunity here to create freely. And those natural materials are really going to help to explore that kind of sensory, open-ended, and engaging kind of art that they may not have access to on a regular day in a program. And again, you can do this inside or outside, really depends on what's available to you. So when we talk about preparing the space or preparing the surface, again, this is totally up to you and what you have available. You could cover a table using, like large rolls of the butcher paper. You could do this on a wall. It could be an outside easel or an outside space. Always want to protect your workspace. Use, materials that are easy to clean up or not permanent, obviously. And allow that room for movement around this area. I'd say allow a lot of room for movement if you can. I think children create differently when they have that room to move their bodies. Offer some natural tools. This is, again, tonight's all around those natural tools and natural materials. So you can, bring in some leaves or pine cones or sticks. We've used a lot of flowers in our center before and painted with flowers as kind of paintbrushes and different things. Really, again, use the materials you have available to you. You can model that process. So demonstrate with just 1 or 2 possibilities, not 10. We want to really allow the children to have their ideas and not feel that they're copying adult ideas. So a couple of things to show them how to make this work, or how certain materials make different marks, and then let them kind of have that ability to and freedom to explore and create. Um, some kind of examples here, we could, take a leaf and press it into paint. Um, sorry, drag a stick through mud. So you don't even need paint for this. If it's outside and it's been kind of muddy, this is a great opportunity to utilize that too. Rolling a pine cone through paint, printing with different natural materials. Again, as big or small as you want to make it. Always with our step 4, focus on the process, rather than the product. Take a step back and just observe and let them create. You can, again, incorporate some vocabulary here, some open-ended questions and observations like, you pressed very hard with that. I noticed the different marks. You used long movements or fast movements, or something that validates that effort and experimentation. But again, step back and just let them create on this one. For the activity here under our 12 to 18 month age group, for infants, really, this is all about the sensory exploration. Some example materials we're using here is large paper, water or taste-safe paint, natural materials and prepared surfaces. So we can see some pictures here. I mean, different age groups on some of them, but really supporting that sensory exploration, the gross motor movement, hand strength, the cause and effect. Even just incorporating a few simple words here like press and touch and look will help to build the vocabulary for them, will help to really get the process going, and help to guide them as they're feeling these things, maybe even for the first time, right? When we move to our 19 to 36 month age group, this really becomes more intentional, again, like the other bin kind of idea. Some of the materials you could offer at this point would be, more leaves and pine cones, some paint and water. Again, you could do this on large paper. You could do it outside on an easel. You could do it in a Play-Doh too, if you had something like that available. Really focusing the development here around controlled movements, fine motor coordination, texture exploration, and creative expression. Offering just a few natural tools and encouraging them to test different movements. So, what does it look like if you push really hard, or what does it look like if you go really slow? Those kind of things. What kind of mark does it make? Allow the repetition and exploration here, and really just extend the language naturally as you're observing. At this age, the toddlers are really developing that grip strength, the motor planning, creativity, and building on their attention span. So this process is so important, just to have that freedom to develop all of those skills, as well as, it supports emotional expression, and it will support children who really start to communicate feelings through movement and art long before they can really verbalize or verbally communicate those emotions clearly with you. For our preschoolers, mark making becomes really more about planning and creative expression. You can now include multiple natural tools, some paint and water, clipboard, small trays. Really, you can make this again as big or small of an activity as you want it to be, or what you have available to you. The focus on this one is really about supporting the creativity and planning, the fine motor refinement, their confidence in creating, and building, their process art kind of abilities here. I think these pictures are great. You can see 3 really different ways to use some of the same kind of natural materials. Setting this up, kind of the implementation of this kind of activity, you can really invite children to choose tools intentionally. So you can have a variety of different tools available and let them really have kind of a plan of what they're building and choose something intentionally to support that. encourage experimentation. You can discuss different techniques here, and really invite that reflection afterwards for them to share how they built something, how the process worked, what they actually created. Some of the language that we've put here as an example for you is really around asking those open-ended questions, like what are you creating? What tool will you try next? How did you make that mark? Those kind of things to give them an opportunity to share with you, but also leaving it completely open-ended. At this age, what we're seeing is children are really developing that critical thinking, decision making, planning skills, their fine motor precision, confidence. I think confidence at this level and this age is really important as well. And these experiences really strengthen that physical and cognitive foundations that they'll need later when they start writing. So a lot of this, you may not even notice it, but the hand strength that they're using here is going to help support them when they are picking up the pencil, and learning to print and write in their next stages here. And they're going to really be developing their confidence in their own ideas through this kind of process art as well. So next, we're going to go into the build section of this. And tonight's build component is all about loose parts and nature construction. Loose parts play is really one of the most valuable experiences in early learning. And it's really such an easy, accessible thing most of us have available in our centers, or very easy to collect and find. Very, can be really expensive, but also can be very inexpensive to bring all of these materials into your program too. The longer you stay in this field, I know I've been in early childcare for a couple of decades, and I swear I have closets full of different kinds of loose parts. You just start collecting it at some point. But you can really, incorporate natural materials here to stack and balance, arrange, construct, design. And all of those things support problem solving, coordination, persistence, and planning for children. Loose parts are completely open-ended. A stick can become a bridge, a fence, a road, a fishing pole, a support beam, like 100 different things. The children in this kind of activity are the thinkers and the designers of that dream or vision that they have. There's no fixed outcome. Creativity can expand naturally here. And when we set up something like this, we're going to kind of talk about the implementation of it, but children really can build more successfully when materials are organized. So, we start, when we go into center, sometimes I see loose parts that are kind of mixed in with a whole bunch of other different things. But, having some trays and keeping our materials kind of organized so they're accessible and not, overwhelming for the children, it will make it easier for them to use. So again, depending on where you're using this, you could be doing this outside, you could be doing this inside, setting that space, defining that space so it's ready. Maybe it's a floor area, maybe it's on a table, whatever, again, you have available to you. Keeping the materials visible and accessible, so that's what I really kind of mean by organized with this. Offer some open-ended materials, things like sticks, rocks, pine cones, small logs, wooden blocks. It's totally, endless of what you could choose. Again, making sure it fits your health regulations and your licensing standards, but beginning with simple questions here. So what can you build? How can we make it stand? What could go next? Avoid showing the children exactly what to build or stepping in to, do that next step for them. Leaving it kind of open-ended will really create stronger thinking, will create confidence for them, and independence here too. And again, step back and observe wherever you can. This is really one of those activities where persistence can develop for children, which is such an important skill. And when, structures fall, the children will learn how to be persistent, how to try again. You're building that problem-solving skills. You're showing them, how to be resilient, how to plan, how to make adjustments. All of those are such important skills that, really should be supported without adults taking over for them. So instead of jumping in to fix the structure, maybe stand back and ask, what did you notice? What can make it stronger? Like, these are great opportunities to kind of support them and build that vocabulary and the critical thinking while just guiding so that they can do it themselves and build those other lifelong skills. So for our first build activity under our 12 to 18 month age group, we are going to kind of talk about how they're exploring through these materials. I mean, 12 to 18 months, this is all about exploration and kind of the sensory and I would say cause and effect, maybe a little bit here, exploration. But some materials you could use here, different sizes of blocks, pine cones, rocks. I mean, again, use your discretion, make sure it's always safe and appropriate for them. Small logs, there's a great picture here with some different materials in it. But you're really developing here that hand-eye coordination, stacking, cause and effect, exploration, sensory, and really supporting them in a lot of times having that kind of first opportunity to really put all of these things together and create something on their own. Our step-by-step implementation for this offer, large but safe materials. You might want to model how they could stack as an example and allow the children a place and enough space and room to safely kind of knock things down or have things fall over and time so that they can repeat this freely. Some of the language you might want to kind of put out here while you're guiding this is there's a few words on the screen like stack and up and down. You could talk about like it fell or, look how tall it is, those kind of things. Really building just kind of the basic vocabulary here and observations. And really why this matters so much at this age is that our children sorry, I'm just getting a chat message. The children here at this age are really starting to learn that spatial awareness, coordination, cause and effect, and motor control. And the repetition in an activity like this will really strengthen those neural pathways and their confidence. Moving on to our toddlers. So for toddlers, construction becomes more powerful. You're using, some of the materials here again, it can be same almost as the other ones, but you can add a little bit more to this. You can add some more, maybe different rocks, different space, different size blocks. There's some buttons and shells and things in the pictures on this one, making sure that this is supported with your guidelines and regulations, but some natural materials like pine cones and sticks and different things that maybe they were bringing in from home to provide to the program. Your developmental supports and what you're focusing on here is all around the problem solving, coordination, persistence, again, your spatial awareness. And when you're building, the language and what you're kind of prompting during this, some of the kind of questions you could ask, what are you building? Can you add another one? How can we make it stay? What would happen if we moved it? Those type of things. You're allowing that freedom for the structures again to fall and be rebuilt. So making sure that the space is set up to accommodate that, maybe making sure there's enough time. No one's rushed through the activity so that they can keep experimenting and keep rebuilding and really working on that persistence. But at this age and through an activity like this, toddlers can begin to understand balance and weight, stability, sequencing. And again, they're developing that resilience and persistence. Every time a child rebuilds after something falls, they're developing confidence in themselves and really a sense of accomplishment when it finally does work and it doesn't fall over. So it's such an important kind of minimalistic activity that you could bring into an outside space, an inside space, whatever you have open to you. For our 3 to 4 year olds, our preschool kind of age group or development level here under build, construction is all about planning and engineering. We're incorporating maybe some loose parts trays here. You can see a picture of one here. Sorting boxes or again, whatever you have in your program. Bringing in maybe different blocks, different outside materials. You can see some kind of pieces of glass, like sea glass and round, obviously safe round glass. Maybe different rocks, maybe different grass kind of materials. If it's outside, you can see kind of an incredible looking wooden structure that is in the middle picture. So again, depends on what your center has available, what the space looks like, what resources are available around you. But our development focus on this level with this kind of an activity is all about supporting the planning, collaboration. So maybe this is a group activity with your preschoolers, engineering concepts, creative thinking, problem solving, confidence again here, because they have that ability to try and build something and be proud to show it off to you. Maybe it's going to work, maybe it'll fall down and they'll have to redo it. But to build that resilience and confidence that will carry them forever, I think. So some step-by-step around implementing this. Invite the children at this age to discuss ideas. Again, this is a great opportunity for a group project or a collaborative kind of project with your whole group or small groups. Discuss it with them, let them share their ideas about what they're going to build. Encourage planning before building, really support that collaboration. Ask reflective questions here. So what's your plan? How can you make it stronger? How can you build it another way? What can you add next? Encourage them to redesign and adapt so that it's more successful if it's falling over, those kind of things. Preschoolers are really developing that higher level thinking skills, and through activities like this, they're learning how to plan, how to predict, how to cooperate with others, how to communicate with others, and really those basic engineering concepts. And really, I think most importantly, they're learning to think flexibly through projects like this. And that's really a critical lifelong skill. Before we wrap up, we always like to kind of just touch on observation and really how you can focus on observation as educators. One of the most important parts of play-based learning is the observation. They help you to understand, what the children know, what they're practicing, what interests them, what skills are emerging. When you're documenting learning, the focus is on, what the child did, what skills were observed, what developmental connections exist, what their interests, again, like what interests are popping up, maybe how you can build on that. Areas to observe, especially around what we talked about tonight, include things like persistence, language expansion, collaboration, some planning and sequencing, creative thinking, those kind of things. Just as an example for you, we have one on the side that says Liam stacked pine cones in small blocks, then adjusted the base when the structure fell. He demonstrated problem solving, persistence, and early engineering thinking. So these words that are highlighted here are things that are all skills and developmental components that the children have been learning through those activities. So if you are, maybe communicating with parents at the end of the day, maybe you have, an app like ChildFriendly or something where you're sending some photos of what the children learned and what they did. These are definitely words that you can use in there to really support the lessons and the activities that you had for the children in your program. Really build that value to families, to start to educate the parents on really all of the life skills that the children are learning just through those kind of simple activities. So love to throw some words out there for people just to take back if you are doing these kind of activities, to really expand your vocabulary too when you're explaining to families all the observations that you have of the children for the day or for the week. So I guess really as we wrap up tonight, if I could leave you with one thought, is that meaningful early learning does not require expensive, elaborate materials or complicated lesson plans. Something as simple as what we talked about tonight or on any of the other learning labs that we covered in the past weeks really is just as meaningful for children. They learn deeply through that curiosity, exploration, movement, investigation, and the relationships that they have with you as educators. And just those simple natural materials can create incredibly rich learning experiences when they're provided with intentional environments and responsive interactions. And I hope, when we use that framework of explore, create, and build, it reminds us that, children are learning through doing and that play is meaningful, process matters more than product, and educators are powerful facilitators of learning. So even if you just, for this next week, choose one small invitation, try one setup, observe what the children are doing and follow their interests, you might be surprised by how engaged and focused and creative and capable they are when you give them that space and the time and the materials to be able to do it all, right? So if you have a nice day coming up and you have some natural resources around you, I really encourage you to just try some of these simple activities, and hopefully you'll be able to, have a wonderful day at your center and really be surprised at all of the different skills that you're supporting and just some simple planning and some basic materials. So I hope that I was able to provide you with a little bit of insight tonight of something that you could take back and make your job a bit easier, because you guys have the hardest jobs, I think, in the world. Being an educator is not an easy job. And if we can provide you with some resources and support along the way to make it easier, then that's a great thing. And I'm happy to answer any kind of questions anyone might have, any discussion. If there's something you want to talk about or share an idea of your own, the floor is yours. Again, make sure that you use the link that's in red on your screen right now if you want a certificate for tonight for your attendance. Just pop onto that site. You'll be able to put your information into there and we'll email it off to you. The resources will go out probably tomorrow. Again, if you don't receive them and you maybe didn't register, once we have that information on the link, we'll be able to send it to you as well. So have a great evening and have a great long weekend.